Hi folks, how you doing? It's James, JT at the movies, and I'm back with you for another ranking video. And there's a couple of things really that prompted this video. I did my November and my December DVD and Blu-ray updates and completely forgot to show that I got this absolute steal thanks to Paul over at Magpie Movies, because he let us all know about it on Facebook. And then for whatever reason just filed it away in the collection and forgot to show you it. But that is the Paranormal Activity box set, and I believe we got it from Rare Waves, and it was like 23 quid as opposed to the 60 that it's going for everywhere else. So I'm not really going to do a box set breakdown. You can see on the back there, if you're interested in the tech specs, pause the video and have a read there, what's in it, and then there's the spine. But I thought, do you know what, because I've rewatched a few of these recently, I'll do a ranking video and let you know sort of where I would rank the films in this series. So before I jump into the list, folks, I'll quote, as I always do when I make these ranking videos, and I'm sorry, Carl, I'm stealing your bit, but you put it so perfectly, I've got to use it. To quote my good friend Carl at Carlino9, it's not the right list, it's just my list. This is my subjective ranking of the Paranormal Activity series. If you guys disagree, brilliant. Let me know down below how you'd rank these movies. I always love to get a commentary and a bit of a dialogue going in the comments section, and it's always interesting to know how people rank different things. But yeah, this is how I would rank this series. So coming in at number 7, I would say that the weakest entry in the franchise for me is Paranormal Activity 4. So much so that I don't really remember much about this film, other than the main sort of lead of the franchise, Katie, basically rocks up in a new neighbourhood with the child that she kidnaps from the second one, and obviously paranormal happenings start to go down. But I just remember the young girl with the blonde hair, who I think might be, if I'm not mistaken, is she the girl that led the Freaky Friday send up with Vince Vaughn, where they switch bodies and it's a serial killer. I think it might be her that's the lead in that. Somebody tell me down below if I'm wrong. I could be doing somebody a real disservice. But I remember watching this film the first time around, and her, to me, not being a very compelling lead and not really caring about the family. And I remember it focusing too much on the Xbox Kinect thing, with the Toby thing lighting up the sort of the points on the screen, and it all just feeling a bit like an episode of Most Haunted or Ghost Adventures or whatever. And it didn't do anything for me. So anyway, I would rank that one last. And then in next, slightly better for me than the last one, but not by much. This film, I remember it being advertised, because I've always been a fan of this franchise, right from the first one sort of getting its re-release with the ending that allows for sequels, not the original ending. But this one was billed as the one where we finally see the entity, we finally see Toby and see what it's all about. And that was such a letdown at the end of this film, the reveal there. And again, I didn't find the leads in this one compelling. They sort of came away from the story of Katie and Christy, as they have done in other films, much more successfully, as to my mind at least, as I'll talk about when we get through this list. But yeah, Paranormal Activity, the Ghost Dimension, for me comes in at number 6, because I really just didn't think that it landed well. All the pieces were kind of there, but it didn't work well. And the fact that, like I said, they build it as the big reveal of Toby, and then they show his big toe at the end or whatever, his foot steps out of a portal, doesn't it, and then it cuts, and I just think, it's a bit of a cop-out. Either show him or leave it up to his imagination. In fact, a lot of what works about the other ones is the fact that they do leave it up to our imagination, rather than sort of, showing you what it's all about. Next up, we've got Paranormal Activity 2. Now, really, to be fair, I've put this one in at 5th place, but I suppose I could put this one and the one I'm about to show next in sort of a joint 4th, really, and skip 5th place, because I enjoy them more or less equally. But I rewatched the next one just a couple of days ago, and really sort of had a good time with it, and it actually prompted me to want to make this video, along with obviously showing you the box set. But yeah, Paranormal Activity 2, this is the one that introduces Christy, Katie's sister, and obviously we learn about the new baby, and it's the one of my friend Phil puts this brilliantly. He says it's the one where the kitchen sneezes, and I think that's just such a hilariously fantastic way of describing the hauntings. But yeah, I do enjoy that one. And then the next one, you might have guessed with me talking, is Paranormal Activity 3. I would rank in 4th place. Like I said, we watched this one the weekend just gone, and I think what I like about this one is the the bit towards the end of the third act with the sort of the witch's coven, I find that to be really quite creepy. But I also really like the fact that it's set in the 80s and there's the retro tech, and I don't know, it just sort of lends itself to it a little bit. Maybe to my mind makes it feel a little bit more authentic. I mean, of course, none of these really feel authentic. Maybe the first one, but yeah, I thought it upped the creep factor by being set in the past, and quite liked that. So yeah, that's Paranormal Activity 3 in at 4th place. And then in at number 3, because we're rattling through this today, folks, we have the original, and that is Paranormal Activity. So this is obviously the film that started it all, and it's, you know, it's regarded as one of the best found footage films of all time, and I would agree with that. It's the story of Katie and Mika, isn't it? They start having paranormal activity, and he said it, going on in the house, and so they set up cameras to try and catch what's going on, and one thing leads to another. And yet, say it's done on a shoestring budget, and they filmed it in the director and the writer's house, and it's, you know, it's really well, and it just goes to show that if you've got a good story, you know, and a good concept, that you don't always need billions of dollars to make, you know, to make a good film. Jumping into number 2, this one might be a little bit of a controversial opinion. It's the most recent entry in the franchise, and it's Paranormal Activity: Next of Kin. I really liked what this film did. So it uses the title of Paranormal Activity, but really it has nothing to do with the previous 6 films, which all follow the story of Toby and, you know, Katie and Christy. I was going to say Kirsty then. You'd have known who I meant anyway. But this one tells the story of a young lady who's tracking down the family of her birth mother because she's adopted, and friends are making a documentary about all of it, and they find out that she's sort of a descendant of this sort of like Amish community, and they go out there to try and, you know, like meet her grandfather and her cousins and people like that, and realise that maybe something's a little bit off kilter. So where this one differs from the rest, and what I quite liked about it, what I felt that it did well, not that I think that the other ones would necessarily do this, is I'd say this was more like a Wrong Turn movie than a Paranormal Activity one. Yeah, it's got the Paranormal Activity vibe of, you know, the majority of it is, you know, handheld cameras and cameras placed in the corner of rooms and things like that. But there are also some shots that are more, you know, sort of traditional movie shots sort of filtered in as well to sort of bring the narrative together. But like I say, she goes out in search of her family and to find out about her, you know, her heritage and her past, and stuff starts to go down. And I found it really creepy. I thought that the scares, you know, the jump scares and just all the scares in general worked. I found the characters interesting. I liked the story. It was one of those where it does do a big bad reveal at the end. One of the criticisms I gave about obviously the ghost dimension was that if you're going to reveal the big bad, either do it or don't, you know, don't dip your toe in the water sort of thing. But with this, they do reveal the big bad, and I thought that it worked really well, and sort of the angle that they played with it worked, you know, quite well for the story that they were trying to tell. Apparently there's going to be an 8th one next year. I don't know whether it'll be a continuation of that story, because there are places it could probably go, or whether it'll be another standalone story, or whether even they'll come back to the main story of the original franchise. Either way, it'd be interesting to see what they do, and I hope that it gets a physical release, because I don't want to have to buy another box set just to get the 8th one. Anyway, in at number 1, my favourite Paranormal Activity movie is Paranormal Activity: The Marked Ones. This is the 5th entry into the series, and it's one that's involved in the story of Katie and of Christy and the missing baby Hunter, but it sort of takes a bit of a turn off that, and kind of sets it up as though it's completely its own thing, but then it sort of becomes, it's a spin-off and it's a sequel and it's whatever else. But I find the characters in this really compelling. I really like the way that it sets up the ghost, and it leans into a little bit about the witch's coven that gets mentioned in like the 2nd and the 3rd ones, and just sort of builds the world up a little bit. And I really thoroughly enjoy it. It's probably the one out of the series. In fact, it's definitely the one out of the series that I come back to the most if I'm in the mood for a Paranormal Activity. Activity, this is the one that I'll grab, and I'm over the moon as well with this box set to finally have it on Blu-ray, because for whatever reason I could never get a hold of it on Blu-ray. I've got the first three on Blu-ray originally before the box set, and then I had the last ones, the last three on DVD, because they were just never available in my HMV. I know they do have Blu-ray releases, but I never was able to seek one out. But anyway, yeah, that's been my list on the Paranormal Activity series and how I would rank them. Like I say, leave me a comment down below with your own rankings and your own thoughts on this series. It'd be really great to hear from you and know how you'd rank them. If you've enjoyed the video, leave it a thumbs up. Of course, it lets me and YouTube know that you like this sort of thing. And if you're finding me for the first time, hello, nice to meet you. Please consider subscribing so that we can keep you around for future videos. I'd love to get to know you over future videos, and of course it helps my channel to grow as well. Above all else, folks, take care of yourselves, and I look forward to seeing you really soon for my next video. Bye for now.